Good afternoon. This is Debbie Davis. It is October 16th, 2025. Okay, so just wanted to touch on a few things. Okay, so first of all, Bo Polney reminds us that according, we have to read First Thessalonians 5:3, and it says, just because this peace, it's saying that there's a peace deal. This isn't a real peace deal. It's talked about in Thessalonians, where it says, when people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come on them suddenly. So I believe that's the time that we're in right now, is that there's going to be some things happening still. So, I'm dealing with just, extreme evil all the time. And there was a sermon the other day that we're talking about how there'll need to be like a purification, before you can go into the promised land, that kind of thing. One thing, I just saw this movie the other day that I wanted to mention. It was called the Joan of Paris, and it was based on a story about how this lady helped 5 British Air Force pilots who were shot down over Nazi-occupied France at the time. But I thought it was interesting, the cross that they were wearing. The cross that she wore, it was that's this. I don't think this movie was real, but this cross is real. It's called the Cross of Lorraine, and that's what the resistance was wearing against the Nazis in this time frame. And it has a picture of Joan of Arc on it. So it just reminded me of the whole. There's been a resistance. There's been a battle of good and evil for centuries, and it goes back to the days of Joan of Arc. So if we just want to remind people of that story, anyway, in the movie, she actually helped these guys get out safely. The Nazis were trying to find them, and apparently she helped them in that movie, Joan of Paris. But the real story of Joan of Arc was that the Joan of Arc was a French. She was just a French peasant girl that started getting visions from Archangel Michael, is the story, and she apparently presented herself in front of the cabinet, and apparently, they agreed to allow her to help them because she was getting these visions from Archangel Michael that she presented to the courts, and this guy in the court named Davin, so he allowed her to be in charge of the army, and her leadership brought them to the battle of the siege of Orleans in France. And so she was made into a saint of France, and became a national hero and patron saint of France. Okay, so if you don't know the story of Joan of Arc, it's just such an incredible story. She was just a peasant girl that had no background whatsoever, but it was just powerfully used by God. It was in 1425, okay? Rallied the French troops in a victorious battle against the invading English forces. And then she helped the King Charles the Seventh to reclaim his birthright. Okay, so you have to remember that they've been trying to infiltrate the real birthright of the real king, the real bloodline. And so she helped so that wouldn't happen in that year. She was detrimental, and she was important to help that not happening. They've been trying to replace the bloodline of Abraham Jacob with their Illuminati bloodline. And I talked about this for years, and there's a whole chart that talks about, and I'll I've talked about this before. I've shown it in the past. Okay, it's like you can follow the bloodline of Jesus. He came from the bloodline of course, of Abraham and Jacob, and then King David, and then King David, that was the bloodline, was Jesus, and then, but prior to that, in that bloodline was Queen Boudica of Ireland. She's in that same bloodline, and so was Joan of Arc, in that Abraham Jacob bloodline. It's a bloodline, and then she helped this king who was in that bloodline get in, because they were going to try to put in their other king that was in the Illuminati bloodline, and so they've been all over the world. They've been trying to infiltrate with the kings that aren't in the correct birthright, like we think they are. They're self-proclaiming kings and queens that we've allowed to rule us for hundreds of years. So, but anyway, so of course, we are all up against evil. So I just wanted to mention a few things that I've done to protect myself, that I recommend everybody could do. And well, I have the Psalm 91, okay, that I've used for years to protect myself. And there's also Psalm 27, I'm sorry, that's a really powerful one. And then there's a prayer that I've used that is like a prayer of like a hedge of protection. Jesus' blood used as a hedge of protection over you, and that's powerful too against witchcraft, evil. It's like you literally like plead a hedge of protection, the blood of Jesus. I put crosses on my windows, my doors, things like that. These are the things that anybody can do, because we're in such times of evil right now. And if you have attacks at night, you can play Christian music. And I've told people this before, and they said that it works, because there's a lot of people that get attacks at night, demonic attacks at night. Sometimes, a lot of times it's 3 a.m. and things like that. People have talked about this. And what has worked for me is playing real Christian music, real Christian worship music. And they won't go anywhere near, the demonic activity won't go anywhere near the real Christian worship music. So if you have that type of demonic activity, you just put on the real Christian music. It has to be real, not like some poppy thing, like real Christian worship music. And they won't go anywhere near it, because I've had so much spiritual warfare, and I've had to learn these different tactics. So I just wanted to share those things that hopefully help other people as well.